My name is Scott Black, District Administrator for our school district. This is our second year of carrying on this venue for our school community and public to learn a little bit more about our incumbents and challengers for the board seats that are open this year in our spring election. Before we go through introductions, I'd like to publicly thank Hans Thompson, local attorney of Sweeney and Associates, senior member of that firm, for facilitating our program tonight. And before we get into the forum tonight, Mr. Thompson will take us through the protocol of what we'll be accomplishing tonight. So just so everybody knows that the event is being recorded, okay, and we will push that out onto our district YouTube page, and you can encourage your friends, colleagues, and community members to check out tonight's forum as well to help them make the best decision if they choose to participate in our spring election. And finally, I want to thank our candidates this evening for being with us tonight. This is not an easy task, and they're going to do a great job. And hopefully at the end of the program this evening, you'll have a better understanding of their vision of who they are and how they feel they can contribute in positive ways to the school district of New London. So thank you for joining us tonight, and I'll turn it over to Attorney Thompson.
Thank you, Scott. Tonight, I'm going to lead the forum. I'm going to ask a question, and that question will be presented to each candidate per round. So we'll get 4 questions, 4 answers. We will move on to the next question, and then the next person in line will go first. So each person will have an opportunity to go first, probably once or twice. The first question that we're going to ask, each candidate will have a 2-minute response time. Every question after that, the candidate will have a 90-second response time. So we drew lots here, and John Heidemann is going first. So I'm going to put to you the first question, which you have 2 minutes to answer, which is, tell us about yourself and why you are interested in becoming a school board member of our district.
Okay. Hello, good evening. I'm John Heidemann. I've represented this community for the last 6 years as a member of the school board. Currently, I'm serving as vice president, and I'm up for re-election. I'm a 1990 graduate of New London High School. Our family operates Heidemann Farms. As a business owner and a homeowner, I take very seriously the need for wise, prudent, and responsible use of the taxpayers' money. Because as I say, I have skin in the game. I'm a parent. My wife April and I have 3 children. My daughter Sarah is 20. She's a graduate of Fox Valley Tech. She has a business degree and currently a realtor with Coldwell Banker in New London. My daughter Maureen is 18 and is attending Whitewater, majoring in art education with a minor in special ed. And my son Henry is 16 and is a sophomore in high school. I strongly support our New London public schools. They've served my family well. With a solid educational base instilled by this district, my 2 sisters went on to be highly successful in their chosen fields of music, art, and writing. And I like to think I've achieved a significant degree of success as a farmer and an agribusiness person as well. My background isn't the reason I'm here, though. I'm here for the kids. I've supported adding curriculum, team sports, and activity. Some of the improved offerings include bowling, trap shooting, ice fishing, esports, and for the first time in nearly 40 years, we will be offering in-house automotive program. The goal of all we do and all we offer should focus on helping develop all our students into well-rounded graduates, moving successfully in whatever path life takes them. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Martinson, please tell us about yourself and why you are interested in becoming a school board member of our district.
Thanks, Hans, and thanks to the school district for putting this on. I have been in the hardwood lumber industry for 36 years. I've owned my own successful lumber wholesaling business for the last 15. I've been married 45 years to Ellen, and we have 2 grown sons who both have attended New London schools. I served on the board 6 of the last 7 years. My top 3 issues and reasons for running, I have others, but these are my top 3. Improving parent voice and input into policy and curriculum. Number 2, being a voice for the taxpayers. And number 3, improving our vocational educational opportunities. Parents and guardians are the main customers of our school district. With open enrollment, school choice, and many other options, public schools cannot take parents for granted. I will ask the board to appoint a parent member onto the curriculum committee for the new committee term year. As of last April, our board now includes 4 parents of students currently in school who give good input and listen well to other parents. They have helped us get a more open process for public input into meetings and to get more video access to our meetings. I pushed for adding a goal of improving on open enrollment deficit, the open enrollment deficit. This puts a focus on our primary customers, parents and guardians. Number 2, being a voice for the taxpayers. We do need money for schools, but we need to keep our tax rates competitively low to attract and retain businesses in our area. I will continue, as in the past, to be a voice for fiscally conservative taxes and spending while advocating for school millage when absolutely
10 seconds.
needed. While our schools do need good courses for college-bound students, it's also important to put other choices before students. Our district has been doing
Thank
some
you.
great things on this. Thank you.
Kathy Zedek, tell us about yourself and why you are interested in becoming a school board member of our district.
Good evening, I'm Kathy Zadek. I grew up in Manawa, which is not too far from here. I'm the second oldest of 7 children. My dad, Tom Huffman, was a very proud member of the Board of Education in Manawa for 30 years. I have a Bachelor of Science degree and a teaching license in elementary education with a concentration in math from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I have a master's in education leadership from the University of Milwaukee, and I hold a license to be a principal K through 12. I've been an educator since 1986, and I have taught all grades, kindergarten through 8th grade. I'm the wife of a New London graduate. Scott and I supported all programs and were very involved with our youth sports as our 2 New London graduates, Lexi and Hunter, grew up. I retired last June after working in education for 36 years, the last 32 teaching in New London, working in all grades K through 6 at Lincoln Elementary, Reedfield Elementary, and finishing my career at the middle school teaching math. I'll be honest to share with you that running for the Board of Education was not on my to-do list for retirement. I'm really not someone who's comfortable sharing my strengths, but I'm still very passionate about education, and I've noticed a change in the last few years at school board meetings. There's a gap between the Board of Education and our school community. I have many personal links already between staff, students, and the community because of my 30-plus years in the district. I have a very unique viewpoint for the board in that I'm aware firsthand of the needs of our students, staff, and schools.
10 seconds.
I hope to take a role in unifying our board and improving the quality of the school district by focusing on our current local issues.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Pete Vasquez, tell us about yourself and why you are interested in becoming a school board member of our district.
Hi, everybody. I'm Pete Vasquez. I'm a 1980 graduate of the New London School District. I left high school and started at Presto Products. I worked as an industrial mechanic for 12 and a half years. I put myself through Fox Valley Tech and got my associate's degree in law enforcement, and then worked for Wapaka County for 23 years. I also worked at the city of Wapaka as a dispatcher and part-time in the city of Manawa, and I also was able to do a few months of undercover work. Currently, I'm in my 3rd term as a Wapaka County Board Supervisor, and I'm the chairman of the Park and Rec Committee as well as the chairman for the redistricting committee. I was a former school board member here in New London and enjoyed that time immensely. I think when I get back on the board, I will help direct the board to hold itself accountable for its actions, and I will also push to have more parent involvement. I'm also a parent of 2 stepdaughters currently in school and 2 grandkids that are in our school district, as well as my 2 older sons have already graduated. So I bring a very diverse background to the job of a school board member, and I think that will help refocus the board's attention to the goal of success for all our students. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll start with the first randomly selected question, or selected question by me, and it will be presented first to Chris. How can we make learning a priority and continue to improve student achievement for all students?
Okay. Oh, number 5. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I was missing it. Okay. First of all, I think it's very important that we look at districts that are failing immensely and try not to copy them. Where parents are pulling kids out of public schools in large numbers. It's not a coincidence that those districts that are making so-called woke social policies more important than academic achievement are the ones that are failing. We need to avoid that stuff and do everything legally in our power to stick to learning of the skills and academics. Watch out for social studies programs that push gender identity or equity rather than equality of opportunity, which is the American thing, as important things. Instead of hard facts on how government works, instead we need to stress hard facts on how government works, geography, and true history, and stay away from these social experiments. Thanks.
Kathy, how can we make learning a priority and continue to improve student achievement for all students?
Thanks, Hans. We can easily make learning a priority and continue to improve student achievement for all students by just allowing our educators to focus on teaching and learning. They don't need to be bombarded by issues that don't pertain to our New London schools. We need to have our professional educators at the table where curriculum decisions are being made, and we need to provide staff with the time and supplies necessary for teaching all students to learn.
Thank you. Pete, how can we make learning a priority and continue to improve student achievement for all students?
There are 2 components in making learning a priority. The first is to engage with parents and demonstrate to them the success of their child is the goal of all staff and board members. The second is to provide a safe and relaxed atmosphere for our youngest learners that builds on their natural curiosity. And with that solid foundation, students will become lifelong learners, and they will continue to be engaged throughout their academic career. Thank you.
Thank you. John, how can we make learning a priority and continue to improve student achievement for all students?
We have to offer curriculum choices that interest all of our students. We have to offer classes that not only fit their goals, but that they're interested in. We have to continually review our course offerings to make sure they're relevant and cutting edge. New ideas and approaches have to be evaluated to make sure they're having the desired effect. I'm a born cynic. Don't tell me how it's working, show me how it's working. We have to see results.
Thank you. For the next question, we will start with Kathy. What are your priorities when you make decisions about school district operations?
My first priority when making decisions will always be to consider what is best for our students. Is it a want or a need for for all of our students? Does it adhere to our school policy and state statutes? Is it fiscally responsible and sustainable? In regard to making decisions about daily school operations or maintenance operations, for instance, my first priority would be to seek information from the people who have expertise in that area. As an example for that, if a school boiler dies and there's no heat for our students, we need to fix it or replace it ASAP. The board would make the decision on spending the money, but the decision on what really should be done with that boiler should come from an expert.
Thank you. Pete, what are your priorities when you make decisions about school district operations?
It's a pretty simple list that I go through. Does the decision make a positive impact on safety and security for students, staff, and visitors? Does the decision provide new or improved educational opportunities for our students? Is the decision ethical and legal? And finally, is the decision fiscally responsible? Thank you.
Thank you. John, what are your priorities when you make decisions about school district operations?
Transparency. We must be transparent in everything that we do. We must honor our commitments, whether following through on details of past referendums or being true to our word to hold and trust land for the New London FFA. All changes or proposals must be beneficial to student outcomes. Ideas and proposals need to be realistic and sustainable. Community support is vital to moving this district forward.
Thank you. And Chris, what are your priorities when you make decisions about school district operations?
Well, I kind of like Stephen Covey approach. Seek first to understand and then to be understood. So first listen. Even if you think you know the answer going in, it's better to listen to all sides, listen to our constituency, listen to our customers, the parents, listen to the other board members. And even if you disagree with somebody, try to find something positive in their suggestions and work with it. And I think it's more a way of going about it. You know, if we're not on the same page, is there some place in the middle that can get us in the same page? If there isn't, how can we make the decision amicably and move on and respect one another's opinion in the process? So the other thing is we got to make sure that we're following our policies. If there's something that requires a policy change in order to make the right decision, then we got to get the cart before the horse, because we shouldn't be we shouldn't be doing something that's in violation of our policy. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you. All right, the next question will be presented to Pete first. And the question is, what is your personal vision for public education, and how would you develop a shared vision for our district?
My vision for public education is to provide a safe environment for learning and provide the educational opportunities that empower students to be successful in whatever path they choose. Shared vision can only be achieved with positive and open communication that builds trust with parents, staff, and students. Thank you.
Thank you. John, what is your personal vision for public education, and how would you develop a shared vision for our district?
What we are striving for in education is to turn out a well-rounded individual that has the basic life skills to be successful in their life. There's no right or wrong path to that end. The pendulum of education swings back and forth with time, and we need to be equally concerned with the needs and aspirations and career paths of all our students. We need to be guiding and supportive to all our students, whether they're college-bound, entering the trades, or enlisting in military service. During my time on the board, we have actively recruited partnerships with our local businesses, manufacturers, and trade unions to give our kids wider opportunities upon graduation. We support and celebrate all our graduates, no matter what career path they choose. Thanks.
Thank you. Chris, what is your personal vision for public education, and how would you develop a shared vision for our district?
Well, call me old-fashioned, but my vision is shaped by my own background in education and having been educated through public education. It's shaped by the great education I got in rural Michigan. My mother was a school teacher in one of the last of the one-room schools in our area. I was in one of the very first kindergarten classes in a consolidated school that had 8 rooms in it, that had multiple rooms and a principal for the first time. My grandfather was on the school board and promoted consolidation of rural school districts in order to provide more opportunities for education by having a more variety of teachers specializing. When education works well, when its decisions are locally driven, the state does set some boundaries, but should leave most of the standards and curriculum decisions to local school boards informed by local educators and parents. We should always be wary of new fads in education, not saying never to do them, but test them thoroughly and make sure they are aligned with local values and education goals.
10 seconds.
And I also would like to say that the doctrine of in loco parentis is a sound doctrine, and I think that we really should and do stick to it here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Kathy, what is your personal vision for public education, and how would you develop a shared vision for our district?
Well, to answer your question, Hans, my personal vision of education is just what the School District of New London has already established: to partner with families and the community to develop students that become effective communicators, problem solvers, critical thinkers, and responsible contributing citizens. Through high-quality instruction, personalized learning options, and a caring, safe environment, our New London graduates should be prepared to move on to college, technical school, or directly into the workforce. I was involved in the senior exit interviews today, and I was very impressed by the students I spoke with. They were well prepared and anxious to move on after graduation. If the district was to create a new shared vision, all stakeholders must be involved in the development, like they were in the one we have now. Board members, administrators, professional staff, support staff, families, communities, members, and even students should be involved in creating that shared vision.
Thank you. This next question will be posed to John first. So John, what past training and/or experience that you have make you an ideal candidate to select for the board?
For over 30 years, I've successfully operated and expanded our family business. I know how business works, and I have the success to prove it. This school district is one of the larger businesses in the area. We have to have a school board. We have to have school board members who understand contracts, zoning, buildings, equipment, and the list goes on. The school district doesn't run on feelings. It runs on facts, and it runs on dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, what past training and/or experience do you have that would make you an ideal candidate to select for the board?
Okay, well, I would admit that if the district is looking for a board member with a lot of formal education, I'm not it. I did take some post-secondary college courses and some job-related seminars, management seminars, but the highest diploma I have is a high school diploma from Alpena High School in Michigan. I'm an FFA alumni, which was a great learning experience for me in things like parliamentary procedure and in forum discussions. I did have a great K-12 education from, at the time, a very great school. My role as a parent also taught me to be an involved parent. My youngest son was a special ed student, and I had to learn to advocate for him from the time he was in kindergarten. 7th and 8th grade government class and high school civics was something I enjoyed very much and made a big impression on me. And how local government works in our country has always been exciting to me and has caused me to be always, most of the time in my life, involved in some way in local government. The way our country works versus European countries,
10 seconds.
Iron Curtain countries, it requires citizens to be involved, and it's citizen self-governance, which I love. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy, what past training and/or experience that you have makes you an ideal candidate to select for the board?
Well, as I shared in my intro, I have a bachelor's in education and a master's in administration. I've been an educator for 36 years, teaching all grades, kindergarten through 8th grade. I understand the school system and I understand kids, and I continue to serve on the Parent Advisory Council for the district. Outside of the classroom, I've led student organizations, grade level committees, curriculum committees, and teacher organizations. I continued learning throughout my career with additional college classes, workshops, networking with other educators, and being actively involved in school in-services. I've been a parent of I am a parent of 2 children who benefited from the New London education system. I'm still very passionate about education and strive to be a lifelong learner. I have a conservative background that has always helped me to make sense of budget and spending. I look forward to continually learning and supporting efforts to ensure fiscal responsibility.
Thank you. And Pete, what past training and/or experience that you have makes you an ideal candidate to select for the board?
3 years of being on the Board of Education here in New London. 5 years as a Waupaca County Board Supervisor, Chairman and Vice Chair of several committees. I was the first officer to graduate through the FBI's Law Enforcement Executive Development Association program. I'm also a trained crisis negotiator. I also have 19 years of experience as being an instructor, and I'm a parent and grandparent of students currently in the school district. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, question number 5 will be first posed to Chris. And the question is, how would you create links between the board, staff, students, and community?
What number is that on our 11? Thank you. Thank you. So for creating links between board, staff, and community, it's very important that that there be the free flow of information, that people in the district be totally not afraid, totally willing to come forward with information to their school board members, to the administration, et cetera. When I was first on this board, there was an unwritten rule that if you went into a school as a board member, the principal was to call the administration office and let them know you were there, and then when you were gone, kind of give a rundown of what you were doing. And it stopped a lot of free flow of information. People were unwilling in the schools to talk openly with board members, and it's important that a board member not overreact to things or not indicate that they can fix something that they can't as an individual board member. But I think we've made a lot of progress in changing that atmosphere in the current situation.
10 seconds.
And I think the model that was used in passing the 2018 November referendum was a great one. A lot of open discussion between all stakeholders that led to a successful referendum. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy, how would you help create links between the board, staff, students, and community?
To help create links between the board, staff, students, and community, I will listen and be responsive to input. I will continue to be visible and approachable. I will stay involved on the Parent Advisory Committee, and I will attend community events. I have many personal links already between staff, students, and the community because, as I said, I've been here 30 plus years, living and working in the district. I have a very unique viewpoint in that I'm aware firsthand of the needs of our students, staff, and schools. By sharing my teaching and life experiences, I hope to create that most important missing link, the link between our school board and the concerns of our students and staff.
Thank you. Pete, how would you help create links between the board, staff, students, and community?
Well, with students and the community, I would use my personal social media platforms that they can get in touch with me whenever they need to. And I would also use the platforms that the district makes available, emails and those types of things for that type of feedback. And I would actively reach out for that feedback. And as for staff, I would like to engage them in conversations and let them know that no matter how critical they might be of a decision I made or a position I've taken, that they don't have to fear any type of retaliation from me. It's all input that I would use to make future decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. And John, how would you help create links between the board, staff, students, and community?
Really wouldn't need to create links. They all exist already. We're very accessible. That's the key component here, is the accessibility to board members. The school district is nice enough. They give us business cards. Throughout my career, I guess I've been fortunate enough I never needed a business card. But this is a nice way for people to be able to get a hold of us. The problem is not all the board members are accessible. Some will not give out their phone number. Mine's out there. I put it on my business cards, and I give it out easily. While many avenues already exist and are utilized on a daily basis, honest communication and feedback always has to be a top priority. I've watched businesses grow and I've watched them fail. And it's usually based somehow on communication or lack of thereof. My phone is always on. I don't hide behind a computer screen, and I answer it. I talk to people, good, bad, or otherwise. I find out what's going on, and I pick up the phone. When it calls, I answer it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will be posed first to Kathy. Kathy, what one major goal would you wish to accomplish as a board member for the School District of New London?
It's a real short answer, Hans. If I'm elected, I hope to take a role in unifying our board and improving the quality of our school district by focusing on our current local issues.
Thank you. Pete, what one major goal would you wish to accomplish as a board member for the School District of New London?
I think the most important goal that I have is to improve the relationship between the board, parents, and staff. Currently, there seems to be quite a bit of friction and angst over some of the things that are happening at the board level, and we have to make sure that those lines of communication are open and that parents feel heard and the staff has a part in the decisions, and so that it all works as one team and not separate individual areas. We just need to improve those relationships. Thank you.
Thank you. John, what one major goal would you wish to accomplish as a board member for the School District of New London?
Well, I take great satisfaction in many goals and milestones we've achieved during my time on the board. My goal is trust. When my time has ended and I'm no longer around, I would like trust to be the one major achievement I leave behind. Trust that we have done the best we possibly could for future generations of graduates. Trust we've been good stewards of the district's funds. Trust that we have compensated the teachers and the staff and administration fairly. Trust that we have put the district on a path of continued success. And trust that we are leaving things better than we found them. Thanks.
Thank you. And Chris, what one major goal would you wish to accomplish as a board member for the School District of New London?
I'd like to say that we always talk about getting the right answer on the school board, but it isn't just about getting the right answer. It's about doing things the right way, and you can get to the right answer the wrong way, or you can get to the right answer the right way. You can even get to the wrong answer but the right way. I would like to see us develop processes where we're doing things the right way, and even if at times we get a wrong answer, because if you do the right thing, if you do get the wrong answer the right way, you can easily correct it by backing up and going back to your process. And so that's kind of a general concept, but I'd like to see us get there to where we're more concerned about getting the right way than the right answer.
Thank you. Pete, we'll move on to the next question. That question is, what do you feel is the role of parents in their child's educational process?
The parents in the educational process is the most important. They're the foundation of everything that the school district builds on. The parents are the first ones to teach a kid how to use a spoon or how to walk. And that continued involvement all throughout their school career can only benefit the students. So we as a school board and as school staff have to appreciate that and foster that and let that grow so that the students will achieve the best possible outcome from their educational experience.
Thank you. John? What do you feel is the role of parents in their child's educational process?
It all starts at home. Parents build the foundation for the success of our students. Parental involvement in the child's education is key. Family values are the core building block that a child's education is based on. Again, it all starts at home. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, what do you feel is the role of parents in their child's educational process?
I think parents are primary. I mentioned before the doctrine of in loco parentis, which is Latin for in place of parents. The public school system in America is vastly different than what was in Europe before that, vastly different than what is in what we used to call the Iron Curtain countries. It wasn't set up to be run by the federal government. It wasn't even set up to have a lot of dictates from the state government. It was set up to be locally run, and to have a system where the educators always looked on the kids as in trust for the parents, and to not use that situation to indoctrinate, to change what the parents' values are, but to take care of them as they would if they were taking care of somebody else's children, which they're doing. And so the parents are our best filters for things like even what should be in our libraries, what types of curriculum we should have. We should be having sounding
10
voice
seconds.
from the parents more than most any other source. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy, what do you feel is the role of parents in their child's educational process?
Well, I strongly agree with John. A child's education starts at home. Parents are their first and primary teachers. The positive support a child receives at home is very important. Student learning should be balanced then between home and school. Children benefit most and are positively impacted when there are positive relations between the home and school. As a math teacher, I often heard a parent say that they couldn't help their student with the new math. I understood that. I did what I can in my classroom, posted notes, posted the notes for the day, did things to make all that stuff that I did in the classroom available for the parents to look at. So I hoped the parent at least tried to help with that new math. If they couldn't still do it, then I hoped and I felt it was their job to encourage their students to seek me out for that extra help.
Thank you. John will pose the next question to you first, and that question is, new information is continually forthcoming about curriculum issues, learning styles, and teaching strategies. How important is it for you as a board member to keep current in these areas?
We need to stay fresh and relevant in these areas, updating our techniques, styles, and technology. We need to employ highly capable people and hold them accountable in keeping the district current and relevant in all of our offerings. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, new information is continually forthcoming about curriculum issues, learning styles, and teaching strategies. How important is it for you to keep current in these areas as a board member?
Well, I think we need to watch what's coming and watch what trends can be useful, especially in areas of technical education. For instance, now we use CNC router in the wood tech area. 30 years ago, that wasn't being done, and we need to keep up there. But We also need to be wary of abandoning tried and true methods that work and not necessarily be the first one to experiment with brand new curricula or brand new changes in the way something is taught. Especially when it comes to digital curricula, because I think we need to kind of hold on to textbooks where we can. I realize it isn't always possible, but the digital curricula is really hard to oversee because of the updates that come in, and it can change rapidly over several years without the board knowing, what is happening there. So I think we have to watch for new things, but we have to be wary and we have to be careful, and especially when it comes to teaching
10
with
seconds.
computers in the school, we have to watch about cybersecurity. Thanks.
Thank you. Kathy, new information is continually forthcoming about curriculum issues, learning styles, and teaching strategies. How important is it for you to keep current in these areas as a board member?
I think it's very important to keep current on these issues as a board member. Because of my continued passion for education and being a teacher by trade, it's especially important to me to keep current on these issues. I'm very confident with a wide variety of teaching strategies and have a clear understanding of the different learning styles, but those change as well. The demands of teaching and learning are constantly evolving, and it's important that I keep current on educational research, as I've always done.
Thank you. And Pete, new information is continually forthcoming about curriculum issues, learning styles, and teaching strategies. How important is it for you to keep current in these areas as a board member?
It's important for any board member to keep an open mind about new information that comes in. But there's so much information for each grade level and each subject that's being taught that's coming in. It's impossible for one person to keep track of all of that or to evaluate all of it. So as a board member, you have to rely on the rest of the team, the district administrator, his leadership team, and the instructors and the principals that are experts at doing just that, going through that, what is best for their students. And then they can bring that information to us and give us a rundown on why it's going to be better. As a board member, you have to rely on the rest of the team at some point, and this is probably the best example of that.
Thank you. Chris, the next question would be posed to you first. And that question is, how would you handle a phone call from a parent or guardian complaining about a district employee or program?
Okay, first of all, I would thank them for contacting me and thank them for bringing this to my attention. I would inform them for what the policy is for this type of thing, depending on the type of complaint. Our policy calls for, if it's a complaint about an employee, to go to the supervisor of that employee. If, for instance, it's a bus driver, it would go to the bus garage supervisor, or if it's a teacher, it would go to the principal. I would inform them of how that, that you can take your complaint there. If you don't come to terms with it after that, you can take it to the next step, and the final step before the board would be to the district administrator, Scott Bleck. If they're still not satisfied, then they're welcome to come back to the board, and at that point we can entertain it and look at it and decide whether it is a legitimate complaint or not. But it's very important to, at every step, both
10 seconds.
realize there's another side to the story and not make any conclusions until everything's been looked at. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy, how would you handle a phone call from a parent or guardian complaining about a district employee or program?
As a board member taking such a call, it would be very important to be familiar with the board policy in regard to complaints and also know what the chain of command is. Regardless of the position, the best way to respond to any complaint is to be a good listener in an attempt to understand the situation better. Once I would have an understanding of the concern, I would provide guidance on how to get the concern addressed through the proper channels. I would make the superintendent aware of the complaint. It's not the job of the board member to solve the problem, but to listen and refer.
Thank you. Pete, how would you handle a phone call from a parent or guardian complaining about a district employee or program?
When I was on the board, I handled quite a few situations like this, and I sort of developed a mental flow chart for it. So you just kind of tick down through it. You listen to the complaint, and you decide if law enforcement should be notified. If no, then it's should Mr. Bleck be advised? If then no, then is it something a principal should be made aware of? If the answer is no, then you ask the person, have you spoken with the teacher or employee, bus driver, whatever? And if the answer is no, then you let them know that's where you should start. But anywhere in that process, if the answer is yes, then that's the entity or the person that needs to be notified. But then in all cases, once you've gone through that and followed that process, then you also have to let Mr. Bleck know that you've taken that call and this is what your instructions were, just in case some information was left out, or there may be separate incidents that he may know of and may have to deal with it, but in all cases, you need to let him know so that the appropriate action is taken.
Thank you. John, how would you handle a phone call from a parent or guardian complaining about a district employee or program?
Well, the first thing is you have to be accessible. The phone call can't happen if they can't call you. If your number's not available, or if you don't pick up the phone, the process can't start. So that being said, when that phone call takes place, and it does, when you're on the board, you get a lot of phone calls, and a lot of them are not positive. They're not calling to wish you a Merry Christmas and have a good day. You catch a lot of hell. You have to listen. You have to just stop, put your thoughts and feelings aside and listen and hear what they're saying. When all that's done and you have a good understanding of what they're trying to tell you, well, then you move on. But that being accessible can't be overstated. You have to put them down the right path, finding the proper person in the chain of command to put them onto, whether that's a principal, whether that's the superintendent, whether that's the head of the transportation department. That all has to take place. People need to be heard, and you can't hear them if you're not accessible. So accessibility is job one. So thank you.
Thank you. This next question will be posed to Kathy first. How do you respond to and personally deal with criticism?
Well, first of all, as a teacher and a school board member, I need to respond professionally. I'd begin by listening to what the person says. I would process what they said. try to understand the feedback. I'd clarify. I'd ask questions to clarify about the criticism. Then, on my own, I would reflect personally on the criticism or seek advice from a colleague who's able to maybe give me a different perspective. Finally, after doing that, I would respond and follow up with the shared concern. I'm not perfect. I do my best and have learned there's always room for improvement. And I welcome comments, even criticisms, as an opportunity to grow and improve.
Thank you. Pete, how do you respond to and personally deal with criticism?
Well, first I determine if it's constructive criticism, if it's something I can learn from, or if it's new information that will help me make a better decision or change my mind on a past decision. But getting back to the person, and if it was constructive criticism, it's important to get back and to the person that you've gotten that criticism from and let them know and thank them for that new information. But if it's not constructive criticism, it's being in law enforcement for 23 years, you learn to just shut it out. It's a waste of time to get into an argument over stuff like that. But if it's constructive criticism, it can be a positive thing and a chance to grow. Thank you.
Thank you. John, how do you respond to and personally deal with criticism?
Again, we go back to accessibility. You have to be available to that criticism. People have to be able to get a hold of you, to talk to you. They can't disagree with you if they can't communicate with you. But that being said, just like the rest of you, I'm a lowly sinner. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I say the wrong thing. But good dialogue, good constructive conversation, you work through it. You work through it, and you make the best decisions you can. Like Pete said, you're not going to please everyone. You're never going to please everyone, but you do the best you can. And at the end of the day, that's all you can do. Thanks.
Thank you. And Chris, how do you respond to and personally deal with criticism?
Well, I pretty much agree with everything that's been said. With that said, I used to be, before we moved to New London in 2002, I was the township supervisor of a rural township in Michigan, which was a part-time thing in addition to my lumber career there. And it's roughly equivalent to what in Wisconsin are town chairs. And people would come to the township for a lot of different things, to the township meeting, and sometimes they would come with a chip on their shoulder and say, I know you guys are a bunch of no-good SOBs, but my road is terrible, and I know you're going to fix it, but I'm coming here to tell you to fix it anyway. And it taught me, don't listen to the attitude, listen to what the person is saying. And because a lot of times there's something good in what they're saying, and you got to let that stuff wash off your back, kind of, and you got to treat the person with respect, even if they're coming to you with a negative attitude. And you got to respond. You got to answer it. You know, no matter what the right answer is, if it takes you a while to research it, you got to get the right answer to them. And sometimes it isn't the answer they're going to want to hear. Sometimes you can't fix their road right now. But I think, again, that whole concept that Stephen Covey had, seek first to understand, then to be
10
understood.
seconds.
So thank you again for this
Thank you.
opportunity.
The This next question will be posed to Pete first. What is your concept of a board leadership team and how it should function?
The board leadership team and how it should function is they should be able to have vigorous debate about issues and still walk away with an understanding that different opinions aren't a personal attack. And as a team, once a decision is made by the board, all the members should support that decision regardless of their personal take on how things should have been done. And then as a team, you have to bring in and grow the next generation of leaders for that team. And the best way to do that is to involve staff and parents and let them know how and why you're doing things, and so that everyone has an understanding of how that team works. So if someone steps away or there's a vacancy, there's somebody ready to fill that void that has a basic understanding of how it works.
Thank you. John, what is your concept of a board leadership team and how it should function?
Well, I agree with many of the dynamics that Pete talked about. Our school board members are all coming to us with different strengths. We have to recognize and utilize those strengths when we divide up our duties and our obligations. In the 6 years I've been on the board, I've served on facilities and capital projects and compensation consistently during that time. That's where my experience lies. Those are the things I understand. Whether we're talking about a school board or running a business, putting the right people in the right job is key to a productive outcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, what is your concept of a board leadership team and how it should function?
I think it begins with the golden rule. Treat others as you would want to be treated. Oops, am I not talking to you? Starts with the golden rule. And as president of the board, newly chosen last April, I see this job as a servant leadership. It is not my job to make decisions on behalf of the board, but to facilitate the board for them to make the decision. Every board member should have an equal opportunity for voice in this process. As an example, an agenda policy. Back in 2016, when I first came on, board members couldn't get items on the agenda if the board president or the superintendent did not approve. And all my requests for that year were turned down except for one. That was a wrong way to do it. Any member should be able to place an item on the agenda whether I, as president, agree with it or not. If the board as a whole thinks we shouldn't address the item, they have the right to remove it or to table it under Robert's rules. I'm a big believer in Robert's rules. It's a great way
10
for
seconds.
fairness. The majority rules, but the minority rights are upheld. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy, what is your concept of a board leadership team and how it should function?
My concept of the board leadership team is that although the members of the board are elected officials, their business and contribution to the community should be investing in the education of our New London students and the families first. The board leadership team should be a unified team, a team that collaborates after receiving input from all the stakeholders, the staff, the students, the families, the community. The board needs to respect and trust the expertise of the staff they hire. They need to trust their administrators, the teachers, the support staff, and collaborate with them. I think it's important for the board members to be out in the schools, not just available by the phone, but to be visible out in the community. Although they're not involved in running the day-to-day operations of the schools, I also think they need to be out in those schools so they have a clear understanding of those day-to-day operations that they can use to make their decisions on.
Thank you. Before we go to the last question, I want to let our guests who are in attendance tonight know that following the forum, the candidates are welcome to socialize with guests in the high school commons and answer any questions that you may have or provide any feedback or criticism, because I've heard there's a lot of that. So I'm going to ask the last question, and this is the same question that I asked last year. That was my final question. I think it's a good question to end on. And it will be posed first to John, and that is, what are our district's major strengths?
Residents of our district take pride in our schools and the high-quality education our students receive here. We have excellent teachers, staff, and administration. And despite what you may have read or heard, our district is in excellent financial shape. Our debt load is relatively non-existent. We have a balanced budget. During my time on the board, we passed a widely supported building referendum to catch up on maintenance that needed to be done across the district. We did what we said we would do with the money, updating our technology, repairing roofs, updating our electrical, making safety upgrades to keep our kids as safe as possible. We have aggressively invested in energy efficiency projects within our buildings, targeting those energy efficiency savings onto other upgrades in kind of a revolving cycle of cost-saving moves. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, what are our district's major strengths?
I would agree with John that one of our strengths is our financial stability. I recently attended the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. There's a lot of school districts that are teetering on the brink that use their ESSER funds for operating, which is not a good thing to do. And they're now faced with difficult financial decisions. I think the fact that we have lots of choices for extracurricular things, thanks to our dedicated staff. I am not a musically talented person, but my wife is, and she informs me that she's aware of how excellent our music program is in this district. We've been able to preserve traditional values in our district in spite of outside pressure not to do that. I believe that we're fortunate to have a superintendent that is invested in this community, that comes from this community and really wants to succeed and wants this district to succeed. And I have great respect for him and his abilities. And I think our staff is doing an excellent job and we have the table set for really good stuff in the future. Thanks.
Thank you. Kathy, what are our district's major strengths?
We have great kids. We have great kids in our district who go on and do great things right here in our community and throughout the nation. We have a cooperative, knowledgeable, professional staff that is responsible to our students' needs. And there are many staff that go above and beyond the workday to provide extra activities for our students and families. Our district is fiscally responsible. Our buildings are up to date. Our high school offers an amazing and wide range of learning opportunities to assist our students to be prepared for college, technical school, or immediate employment into the workforce. Our high school students can earn college credits, save college tuition, earn industry-recognized certifications, gain apprenticeships, earn dual credits through the tech school and University of Green Bay. They can participate in the automotive and culinary classes at Rawhide, explore biomedical sciences and pre-engineering through our Project Lead the Way programs. Our high school's awesome. Our tech ed's awesome. In the last couple of years, they put $750,000
10
into the
seconds.
tech program. Our district's awesome. Our kids are responsible, or they're ready to go out into the world, I think, after they graduate.
Thank you. Pete, what are our district's major strengths?
The major strengths are the people of our district, the taxpayers, some of them that don't even have kids in our system, but are still engaged and want to know what's going on. The parents of our students that volunteer and support all of the programs that we put forward. The students that do their best and work with each other, and it's truly amazing to see the kids interact. And the second, but just as important strength we have is our staff. Everyone from Mr. Black down are awesome. They interact with the kids. They each have a part in their education on a daily basis. Even though Mr. Black's not an instructor, he's the district administrator, he's out there every morning greeting kids. And you see the principals greeting kids, making sure their day starts off on a good note. And it's amazing to watch. And I am proud to be part of this district.
Thank you. And thank you to all of you for participating in this forum tonight. And thank you to the guests for joining us. We are concluded.